So, welcome everyone to the Print Profit Podcast. If you like print, you like making a profit, and you like podcasts, Travis, I think they found the right place. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I've enjoyed, learning the program, learning the software, and I think it's put me in a good place, or put the shop in a good place for 2025. So, stoked to be here.
Let's dive into a bit of your background. You don't come from, you're not a fourth generation printer
hmm
by any means. Walk us through, yeah, your journey with MVP screen printing and how did that come to be exactly?
Yeah, we're in the upstate of South Carolina. We're a small print shop that really started out as a hobby or a side hustle. My background is originally in medical sales. And I kind of found myself doing this print thing on the side, and eventually I got to a point where it's like you can't do both. You can't have, you've got to go all in on this thing, and that's what I did. And as the years have gone on, we kind of battled COVID, supply chain, all this different stuff, and then you get to a place where you're like, you're working all these crazy hours and doing all this stuff, and you need a little sanity, and I think that's where Print Profit came into play for us.
Tell us a bit about the shop in terms of equipment and the products that you focus on, or even some of the customers that you serve in the area.
Yeah, so like I say, we're a smaller shop. We serve local customers. It could be anything from schools to local events, some healthcare stuff mixed in there, and really the customer base has grown off of, I guess, the network I had originally from my previous gig, and it's just been a slow word of mouth, kind of deal. So um, from there, when the customer base got to a certain point, you're kind of start thinking, well, like, where's the work coming from, and who are we, serving, and how can we do a better job and anticipate certain trends throughout the year, and really just get more control of what's going on in the shop.
And for those listening, I had a chance to go out and visit Travis, and we did a really cool exercise together, which was getting a game plan for 25, which I'm sure everyone in their head has a game plan, right? You probably know the number you want to hit for sales, um, have an idea of structure, how you might achieve that. But Travis, we roll up our sleeves, got a few good Excel spreadsheets out, loaded up Print Profit, and is this the first year you've taken that kind of approach of going from idea in your head with a big sales number to like, hey, full blown, this is the game plan, and by month, and by customer?
Yeah, most definitely. I think I'm positioned this January, better than I have any of the previous years. Um, it's easy to say that, you want to hit these big sales numbers, or everybody wants to grow, but when it comes down to where the rubber meets the road, and how are we going to get there, who's it going to be, what kind of work are we going to do, and to have that game plan like you and I put together just really empowers the business to go in the right direction. um, it's kind of like having that roadmap, or having that GPS system, to guide you to where you want to be, as opposed to just saying yes to everything, and staying busy, being busy, and that kind of thing. Is kind of like growth, intentional growth, I guess you could put it that way.
And let's talk about our process. So it all began with, we loaded up your financials and Print Profit. You already had it in there. And we looked at by year a high level overview, the evolution of the business in terms of sales, how much contribution you were creating, what did your fixed cost look like, and then the profit. So I remember you came to the table like, hey, Nick, I've got a big sales number I want to hit. And I was supportive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I said, all right, Travis, let's see what that looks like signing up for that. And more importantly than the sales, right? We're talking the profit
Correct.
as well.
Yeah.
So we took that annual sales number, that annual profit target, and we broke it down by month, and not only by month, but yeah, by the sales amount. What is how's the fixed cost going to change? Um, how's your contribution percentage going to be? Are you going to stay, consistent, or do you want to get more? But that whole exercise, I call it sort of financial engineering, and it was eye-opening for both of us because, well, I'll let you say. Do you want to say your reaction when you went from big number to breaking down by month? What was kind of the aha moment that hit your head in that
Well,
exercise?
yeah, I think the biggest thing was when you actually look at the numbers in black and white and you say, okay, this is where I want to go. And you start taking a look at what it's going to take to get there. You may say, well, that may be a little more aggressive than what I'm able to handle. So you could get into a situation to where, you know, you overstress production, you overstress sales, customer service, or even yourself as the owner. So I think stepping back and looking at where we finally landed, I feel more confident that it's a number that we could hit. It's a reasonable goal instead of this shoot for the moon kind of thing and just still running around crazy and pulling your hair out kind of thing. So I feel like the game plan that we have put in place currently is based in truth. It's based historically on performance on certain months and seasonal trends, and we kind of know where those the lulls in the year are and where the focus should be.
And I remember some fun conversations we had of is bigger better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe, there's always an ambition to improve in different parts of our business, but um, yeah. And it was just cool, that reflection of what symbolically is 2025 for you, right? Big ambitions around the corner. We really looked at your 2025 as like a rebuilding the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
to lay that path for the huge jumps in the coming years. But yeah, how's your mindset different in terms of how you see this year compared to others? More strategically, right?
Yeah, I think there's more clarity going into the year. So like just what that would look like when you add those extra orders or those extra sales, how that affects, how orders flow through the shop. Is that manageable with, the resources you currently have? What needs to be added? And it's almost like, it's almost like baby steps, right? You're not turning on a light switch and just all this stuff is magically happening at the same time. It's one foot in front of the other. And I guess that's kind of where we landed was, it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. And to grow your customer base and to do it intentionally with the kind of work that you want to have, is something that takes time.
What was really fun for me, Travis, was our problem solving, saying we want to engineer on paper a certain profit result. And it's like looking at your fixed costs, they are what they are. You don't have a lot of fat to trim. You're lean, you're efficient, you're optimized. The variable costs, they kind of are what they are, right?
Sure.
You're also efficient there. There's not a lot of waste. There's not a lot of investments to drastically get the cost down there. So it's kind of like, what lever do we have left? Sales, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was cool going through that exercise saying, there's different ways to solve this to get to the bottom. And okay, this is kind of, there's not much there. Check. Look at here, look at there. That was neat.
Yeah, and I will say the other thing that I was kind of not surprised, but it was an eye opener, is that to your point about the fixed cost, it is what it is. A lot of times on your fixed, there's not a lot of fat to trim. So the thing that it made me think about moving forward into this year is efficiencies in production. Can we get more efficient? Can we get things done in a more timely manner and, trim the fat on that side of things to be more profitable.
Yeah. Now, sales growth, I remember talking together, it's like, yeah, this is clearly a sales play. How do we get more of it?
Sure.
And you want to share a bit of different strategies you're taking this year compared to years past of how to creatively get it versus maybe like a lot of us where we hope something good comes through or we're going to try our best, but you've got a killer game plan in front of you and I think a whole different way of just how you want to operate and get after it, and a lot of people could benefit from that.
I think the biggest takeaway is the ability to go into Print Profit and look at your current customers and to be able to see which customers are profitable or which customers are generating the most contribution, and from there say, okay, well, we like this or we don't like that, and trying to duplicate those customers or maybe even get referrals from those customers that you want to see more of. So it really it gave me a more focused approach on like what niches or market segments to look into, and it goes back to that whole 80-20 thing we spoke about, that 20% is really the main focus, and the 80 is, why it's good. It's helping you climb that mountain each month or quarter or whatever to just be able to have a more focused approach and to know who to target in, whether it be your marketing or your sales efforts or, whatever that may be.
And I think you're being a bit humble on the sales plan. You've got it broken down by here's my target industries that I want to go after, and you have a reasoning why. You already know the applicable products. You're thinking about upsell, cross-sell opportunities. You're a dangerous man in 2025.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you land on figuring out customer industry, what you like, what you don't like? Do you want to share some examples or what you're trying to get after this year where in the past may not have been on your radar?
Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of it goes back to the data that we put into the platform and what we were seeing in Print Profit and seeing that, we know that certain industries like certain types of garments that order at certain times of the year, and we're kind of able to identify those trends. So when it goes to getting, similar customers or working in a certain market segment, then we kind of have a game plan in place on how to communicate with those people and how to, I guess, market to them or what they're going to be looking for, instead of just saying, hey, buy my stuff, kind of thing. It's more, I think it allows you to bring more value to the table for those customers because you're able to anticipate their needs a little better before you even have that first conversation.
And what's been so cool about our partnership, you're subscriber number 2.
Right. Yeah.
And we even spoke far before I even left my corporate job, much less had a software company.
Sure.
Where was I going with this? I wanted to bring up the fact, like, the collaboration. It's so cool how you've helped create the platform as it is today and how it's going to move in the future. And even referring to, like, those insights, we've got a tool in Print Profit called the customer card, and literally snap a finger and you've got everything you need to know about that customer. It's been awesome getting your feedback to bring those tools to life, and I think you even texted me weeks ago or a month ago, like, yep, I had a phone call with the customer and you could have like freaked them out with the insights of that were available to you.
Yeah, I think a lot of that started from, prior to Print Profit, where I would have these questions about maybe a certain customer or a certain, just the performance of the shop in general. And to answer some of those questions like, when's the last time this customer ordered, or, how profitable am I on this customer, or, whatever it may be, or how am I performing overall on a certain garment, or with a certain customer or whatever it may be. And to get the answers to those questions would, consist of maybe looking at old work orders or diving into, QuickBooks and clicking on links and doing all these other things. And now it's all in one place, and you can answer those questions pretty quickly. So just the convenience and, I guess the added confidence when you're talking to a customer to say, hey, it looks like you've got this event coming up, or you've got this order coming up. Last year we did this, and are you thinking the same thing? And kind of going into those conversations, a couple steps ahead of where the customer may be.
Exactly. What are you looking forward to? The list of new feature development is long, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking forward to for the most in the future of the platform, and what you're looking to get out of it? And you and I working together, and everyone doing this together, pushing the status quo and next level. What you want to share kind of your wish list and what you're excited about?
Well, I think where I'm currently at with, like you said, the focus being on sales, just being able to track that new growth and to see where that's coming from, like almost in real time. So to be able to match, say our current month or our current quarter up to previous years, with the convenience of just a click here or a click there, and to have all that data on the dashboard, and to have that big view of, this is where we're heading, we're doing the right things, we're heading in the right direction. So just the convenience of having that, I guess, heartbeat or overall picture of where you're at, during the year or during the month, is exciting for me.
Let's talk a bit about data entry. It's fascinating to work with shops around the country and see everyone's on a different journey. Some have never input job costs ever. Some do it consistently. If they do it consistently, how they define costs, that's all over the map. Do you want to share a bit about your journey with data and spreadsheets and what you've done in the past leading up to working with Print Profit? Because I was impressed when we first connected and I got to see kind of under the hood how you run the business. What you had built even on your own, it's like, yeah, this guy, he's into numbers and he's doing the best he can with everything he has available.
It's kind of like I said, I got to a place with the business where it's like you're working all these crazy hours, and at a certain point you start scratching your head and you're like, what are we actually doing? Like at the end of the day, how does all this shake out, and where does it land? And are we profitable? Are we not profitable? Are we growing? Are customers not growing? And what do all those things look like? And to get the answer to those questions at the time, it involved, a mix of multiple spreadsheets, kind of like this convoluted thing of pulling in data from maybe QuickBooks, pulling the data from Printavo, wherever all that stuff lives, and trying to put it into a place that, is just easy to use and easy to read and easy to get the answer to a lot of those questions. I'm sure we're all asking ourselves at some point. So, that's kind of what it looked like before. You would have, 3 or 4 tabs open on your desktop, and you're clicking and, you're doing chicken scratch on the notepad and trying to say, okay, this is what this looks like. And, it worked, but it was pretty time consuming to get the answers to some of those questions.
And as I said, I was really impressed with your Excel files. I remember you sharing with me. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. Your brain was moving in the right direction, thinking about customer industry. How is it a new customer, old customer? The way you were kind of looking at the business from those different angles was cool. I want to talk about your journey with contribution, Travis, because that's something that's been around since the Stone Age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Print Profit didn't invent that by any means. When did you first hear about it, and what was that moment to get the light bulb to go off? I'm so curious about that.
honestly thinking back, it was probably the podcast, the Printavo podcast you did. Whenever, I don't know if that was a year and a half
A
ago,
few years
whatever.
ago or
Yeah,
something.
whenever it was. And I probably listened to that thing like 3 or 4 times. I was like, oh, contribution, contribution, contribution. And that was probably the start of the spreadsheets that I'd put together. I was kind of like, okay, that makes sense. Um, because before it was, using the matrix, using the pricing matrix and pricing each job and kind of using not just the matrix, but also like a little bit of just a gut feel of like, I feel like I can get more, or whatever. Nothing that's really based in truth, or nothing that's all that data driven. Um, but there was a little bit of that, stuff going on too as well when it came to pricing. The contribution for me, because I'm a printer. I'm not necessarily an accountant or a huge numbers guy. I look at that stuff, but the simplicity of it is what attracted me to it and wanted me to get to a place where I understood it a little better and to learn more. And that's probably what brought me, on the path to connect with you.
And I remember that phone call. I remember where I was, and I earmarked it in my brain. I'm like, that guy, I loved the conversation. He's hungry to take on a different way of thinking to help his business. And I remember calling you when the MVP of Print Profit was a Google Sheet, like literally a shared Google Sheet. And yeah, I was in Dusseldorf, Germany, at a hotel, attending one of the it is the world's largest printing trade show every 4 years. Um, and I remember calling you like, Travis, I want to work together, and I've actually got something here. And what's been so fun about our journey together is your hunger to learn and improve, and you take the knowledge and you run with it. Um, and I push you, and you push me, and that's been really neat. But it was a special call for me to be like, will you? I
You're
remember asking a girl to prom in high school. Will you go to prom
Yeah,
with me? I'm like,
yeah,
Travis, will you subscribe to this thing?
yeah, yeah. You reeled me in, I guess. Yeah, definitely. The other thing too was, prior to the print profit stuff, like you said, probably just off of that one podcast, taking that information and plugging it into a spreadsheet was almost like a light bulb moment. It was like, even on this goofy, convoluted spreadsheet, I can still click, on this thing and get a bird's eye view of like, this is kind of where the performance is. This is where, the focus needs to be. And ever since then, it's kind of been, 10x on getting that information in one place and being able to just navigate and make informed decisions on, the day-to-day operations of the shop.
Yeah, we're pushing it, and we're both doing that together. For shops who contribution might be new to them, I want to hear in your words, Travis, the 101 explanation, and just break it down from the perspective, keeping it simple, of we're in, at the time of this recording, it's January 2025. What does that mean to you in terms of this month and being successful? How do you break down the 101? This is what comes in the door sales wise, and take it from there. I really just want others to hear it in your words and how your brain processes that.
Based on a lot of the conversations we've had and kind of where we landed with that, is that almost all the expenses are defaulted to a fixed cost. So we put almost everything in a fixed cost bucket with the exception of the garment cost. So we'll take out the garment cost on the order as the variable cost, and everything that's left over is going to be contribution. And that contribution is going to be what's going to help us climb that mountain to break even and into profitability each month. So the way it is today is we get an order. When it comes to pricing, we're really looking at hitting those margins on that contribution and making sure that we're doing it consistently on each order. So, to me, it's a simpler way to price and to make sure that you're staying profitable on each job and you're doing so consistently instead of this shoot from the hip, gut feel kind of thing. So, again, to me, it's just giving me clarity and confidence when it comes to, what we're willing to say yes to.
And speaking of pricing, that's such a spicy topic.
Mm-hmm.
You made a comment the other day. I'm like, oh, this would be good for a podcast topic. If I heard you right when we were hanging together, you're like, Nick, I've basically ditched my matrix and I'm doing my pricing a different way. That is something we need to uncover here.
Well, with the matrix, it kind of breaks down based on quantity, right? So, I don't know that there's anything magical or special that happens if you say have a 50-piece price break or discount, and then you jump to 51, 52 on that garment, that second, third garment past that 50-point mark. I don't know that there's anything different that happens. But if you're going by the matrix and your breaks there, your price breaks there, you're automatically discounting that job. Or in other words, you're not generating the same amount of contribution just because there's one or two more garments in that order. So to just put it all in one bucket and to look at the order as a whole and to make sure that the contribution's there before you say yes to it, to me is a more consistent way to price and to stay profitable.
So let's do a tangible job example. I call you up. I want you to run some print profit shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through how you digest, how you get to that sales price you're going to kick back to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing I'm going to look at is the garments and what it's going to cost to get those garments into the shop. So once I know that number, then I'm going to plug that in and I'm going to make sure that that order is generating enough contribution to cover those fixed costs on that job. So as long as the percentage is there, as long as we're hitting those sales goals and those targets that we set up, then we're good to go. We're ready to take that order and get to work.
One thing that we've worked together a lot is that not every order is equal in terms of the request. Hey, bend over backwards last minute, or you got 4 weeks to produce it. Who's the customer asking? What's the context of where is your business in the month now that you have 20/20 vision? So how do you sprinkle in some secret sauce to that sales price you go in with versus just a black and white? Travis puts in the cost, he knows his target contribution percentage, and send it out. I know you've got some secret sauce of what you'll take into consideration there to try to do the best price given the situation, the business, and the customer.
Yeah, I think, looking at things through this lens of contribution margin and tracking where you are throughout the month, it allows you to play Moneyball a little bit, right? So it allows you to say, this is where we are in the month. We've already hit our break even. So everything else beyond that point is just gravy. So, maybe it's a smaller job that you normally wouldn't be that excited about, but we have the production capacity to take it in. We take it in, and that's just generating more contribution to go, towards profitability for that particular period. Another way is to look at we haven't hit break even for the month. So, this order that we may or may not take in, well, we can set standards around that and say, we can do this order, but it may be later in the month. So we can say yes, but we can't get to it this week. Would you be okay with, if we got to you in 2 weeks or whatever that may be? So it allows you to have some flexibility into what you take in, and it also gives you, I'm kind of overusing this word a little bit, but it gives you the confidence to confidently know whether that's a good deal or not.
And one of our recent conversations, I was proud of you because we were talking about how you said no to an order.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, we're not a pure race to the bottom here,
Sure.
right? And you having guardrails to say, yeah, you know what? I looked at this and I understand the cost, I understand the profit, and if that's where they're at price wise, we're not the shop, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But let's talk us through, how do you get the confidence to say no to business at a time when a lot of shops are hungry to take in anything? Why did you go down that path versus caving in?
I think it comes back to just having the clarity of looking at the numbers at black and white. We know what we need to take in. We know what kind of jobs we need to hit those sales goals. And if the job is not going to help get us there, there's no reason to do it. It's just going to bog down production. It's just going to slow us down and keep us further away from what that goal may be for the month or the quarter or even the year. And it kind of goes back to the flexibility part of saying, we've hit break even this month. We're in profitability. So, if you can be flexible with us, or if you can be, but if it's a customer who's just price shopping you, then, you kind of know what's going to work and what's not going to work for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there's more areas where we can push the boundary in pricing, and it's such a cool topic. And the thing is, I don't believe there's one silver bullet to pricing. There's pros and cons to every tactic, but it's cool having a toolbox for situational to know what do you want to do when, that to me is key, is businesses knowing what are the different tools and when do you use it. And you're doing great with experimenting with that and finding what fits.
And the other thing is, every shop's a little bit different. Everybody prices a little bit differently. The strategies may be a little different. And having the numbers and knowing what that fixed cost is, where that's coming from, and what you need to cover that is going to be different. So it's the pricing and the margins are specific to, like in my case, in my shop. So I know what's going to work. When you get those calls that, hey, such and such down the street's doing it for this, can you do it for that? Maybe, maybe not, but I know without a doubt, what that answer is.
I was on the Apparelist podcast last year, and talking to Cassie, she asked me, what's the number one advice you'd give to someone for pricing?
Mm-hmm.
And my answer, maybe caught a lot of people by surprise, was know your cost.
Yeah.
And to your point, everyone has their own strategy to come up with the sales price. And we know the majority of the industry worldwide does not have clarity on cost. And that's muddied the water so much because, to your point, shops in the area, status quo is we don't know cost, shooting from the hip, race to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And that messes up
Everybody. Yeah.
Because those customers are coming to you of, what do you mean you're not going to go down that low? So-and-so down the street,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a tough industry situation.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. And where I'm located, it's a smaller town. There's other screen printers. So, being able to just pick up the phone or just drive around shop to shop, a customer can, get 3 or 4 different prices for the same job, and who knows if that's accurate or not, or profitable or not for each of those shops. But I know when they come here, the price they're getting is, 1, is fair, and 2, is profitable for what we need to do, what we're looking to accomplish.
Exactly. This was fun, going down the rabbit hole of pricing. Seeing that this is a year where you're trying to do things you've never done before, you're doing a lot of strategic thinking, right? You're doing things sales-wise to achieve a sales figure and profit that you've never done. You're not sticking in the shop to do a lot of that. And that to me is so cool. And even in my own reflection, I go to co-working space every day. I need to be separate from the apartment that I live in. I'd go crazy if I was trying to do certain thinking work in that same environment. You want to tell others where can you find Travis in early 2025? Because it's not full time at the shop. Where are you going and why?
Yeah, I found that when you're in the shop and you're just focusing on the things that are in front of you, you're chipping away at that to-do list and you're trying to get back to this person and you're just in the grind. It's hard to get into that mindset of, looking at the big picture and focusing on growth and focusing on new customers. So, I've kind of dedicated at least a day a week to go sit down in front of a laptop or something at the library, at a local coffee shop. And just, I feel like if you change your environment, you kind of change your mindset a little bit. And it's easier to step back and look at things from a different perspective and to really refocus. For me at least, if I'm here in the shop, that's mainly focusing on production. And since the focus is on sales, we need to get out there and, put our thinking caps on a little bit, think about the strategy, and, honestly just getting out in the community more and participating and raising awareness that we're here, we're available, and, just making friends as often as possible.
Does it kind of feel like even a day a week,
Mm-hmm.
heck, half a day, I think would serve all of us well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it sort of a mentality when you're open up in that door, walking in the shop, like, yep, it's business, it's operations, and we're
Definitely.
focused,
Yeah.
and then stepping outside of the shop, all right, high level, big picture,
Mhm.
that's the mentality between the two.
Yeah, and just to break those things up and to have dedicated time for all of those things, to me, if in doing that consistently, over a certain amount of time, all those little things and all those efforts kind of add up, right? So if I say, whatever, on Mondays from this time to this time, I'm going to dedicate 4 hours, I'm going to dedicate 6 hours, whatever that looks like. If I'm just putting my blinders on for a few hours every week and doing that consistently, to me, you're going to gain a lot of progress doing it that way, as opposed to, I'm going to try to print this job and then I'm going to do this, or then I'm going to get back with this customer and then I'm going to look at, whatever, some cold outreach, whatever it may be. When you switch back and forth like that, you're not as productive as, you're working your butt off, but I don't know how much you're actually getting accomplished.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. One thing that I wanted to make sure we brought up, you and I were thinking about unique ways to get more profitable sales in the shop. Not saying you don't have profitable sales today, right? But more of it. And I use ChatGTP probably just more to like correct emails a little bit or things like that. But when we were tinkering around together at the table, I want to make sure we brought this up. I think a great resource and something we found is plugging in, hey, this is my local area. These are the customer industries that I'm going after. No, actually, it started even more high level. Like, tell me something about customer industries. Like, what would be small businesses in there? And then we added your area. And then, like, give us specific businesses in that sector, in that region. And I remember sitting back like, well, shoot, there's your 50 targeted customers to call or potential leads. That was a really fun exercise, just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what stuck.
Well, we even, I think we even threw in there like trends, like when do these customers order, and it broke it down to like, these are the customers, here's when they're most likely to order, and here's why. So you almost built out, like in just a few minutes, however long that took, a nice little snapshot of like, here's your focus, here's when things need to get done, and even building out like a calendar based around that. So, it was something that I think we almost did on a whim. It was just like, let's try it and see, and it worked out pretty well.
And I know for certain, after airing this, the tool in Print Profit, where you can look at your whole customer base in one screen, and you can see the seasonality of each customer, and then you can look at everyone in May who does the bulk of their business in May and focus there, get ahead of it.
Hmm.
So it's cool just to marry that up with the AI approach. I'm trying to think, is there any other noteworthy tactics that we talked about? You were really smart about using Print Profit to look at your top customers at the end of the year and just
Hmm.
being thankful,
Yeah.
appreciating the business that they've done. And, you're like, well, yeah, that's easy to figure out who are the ones that I should be rewarding and spending that time.
Yeah, it's definitely been an education on my current customers. Like I said, that whole 80/20 rule of you can see where 80% of the work's coming from that top 20%, and you definitely want to take care of those folks, and that's kind of what we did. This past holiday season was to take a look at saying, hey, who are our MVPs, if you will, from the past year, and let's acknowledge that, and let's do something nice for them. And it honestly, it was it paid off great. I mean, people were happy to get it, and I feel like we're staying top of mind with those people moving into the new year.
One thing I learned about you I didn't know before is, you've got a lot of passions in the shop. One being a really good eye for efficiency, flow, organization. All of our shops aren't perfect, but that was something that I really saw, even in the space that you have. You're telling me about the different evolutions of how you moved it around to optimize it. Where do you think that passion or focus came from? Is that something even before you started print that energized you, or was it more when you got into running a shop? Okay, maybe just for your own sanity, you had to figure that out.
I think there's two parts. I think just myself naturally is, if you walk into an office and you'll see one workspace that's everything is in its right place, everything's nice and neat, and then maybe the next workspace is just covered in sticky notes or there's stuff everywhere, whatever. My workspace is going to be the neat one every time. Like for whatever reason, that type A, I just cannot function in a cluttered space. So that's part of it. The other part of it is when I first started printing, you're trying to get jobs out as quickly as possible. You just want stuff to flow through the shop. When you're having to stop and go grab tape that's on the other side of the shop, or you feel like you're just zigging and zagging all over the place, and those steps add up, and then it's 5 o'clock, it's time to knock off, and you're like, that's all I got accomplished today. And you think, what did I do? I was just chasing stuff. I was trying to find this, I was trying to find that. So that's when I would kind of pump the brakes a little bit and was like, okay, we need dedicated workspaces, dedicated stations. Let's make sure that everything is in its assigned place, so that when you do need to go find it, you know exactly where to look. And all those little micro steps and all those little things just add up over time to, again, make you more efficient and allow you to get to your goals a little bit quicker.
How, with that part of the shop, are you combining the Moneyball aspect? Because I know hearing you think of, and you said it out loud when we spent the 2 days together, but kind of playing what comes in and why, and what do you like, what do you don't like. The wheels have already been spinning on your end, I know.
Well, a part of it too is when it comes to scheduling jobs and how jobs get scheduled, maybe what order they get printed in, and just really going into each production day with a game plan to kind of, to kind of marry with the print profit side of it, and to make sure those things are flowing together. Because like I say, if you're like me and you're focusing on more sales and more growth, you're going to have to open up some capacity on the production side. So making sure everything's fine-tuned, and we have the capacity and the resources we need to accommodate the new work that we're hoping to bring in. So really those two things are, I guess, essentially growing together.
sort of winding down here. Where's MVP screen printing in 2030?
2030.
I know we can't even think past tomorrow
Yeah.
most days, but
Well, like we talked about, I feel like this year is going to be a building year. Kind of getting the core foundation built out a little further from where it is today. To build on top of that, we're looking at adding a new space, adding some more equipment, and just having a nice lean little team in production and in sales to reach those sales goals. What that would look like number wise, I don't know if I'm looking that far out, but the vision is to
don't tempt me with a good time, Travis.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But just in general, just getting the shop and getting myself into a place to where you've got a little more work-life balance. The shop's not necessarily dependent on my involvement like it is currently. And just being able to offer good products, good service, and a good work environment, really.
Awesome. It's been a hell of a journey.
Yeah.
We're just getting started, and sky's the limit for you. And it gives me the biggest joy to be part of that journey. So, your biggest cheerleader is based out of St. Paul, Minnesota, and thanks a lot for sharing the education. And I know we'll hop on and do more as we tinker and push the limits, and also hear about how your business is evolving. So,
Awesome.
onwards and upwards, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thank you.